This is David Pickford, Climb Magazine's Editor-in-Chief. Welcome to the September issue. I don't know much about gods, but I think that the river is a strong brown god, writes T.S. Eliot at the opening of The Dry Salvages, the third of his remarkable 4 quartets. Touching a deep nerve in our consciousness of both place and time, Eliot's brilliant phrase links our everyday experience of rivers with something far more profound and strange. Most people in Britain live close to rivers, and many of us cross them regularly, often not thinking about what it is that we are crossing. But when we spend time close to them, the truth of Eliot's point about their spiritual power becomes strikingly clear. My local crag for the past decade, Bristol's Avon Gorge, is not in any objective sense an excellent cliff, but it is a river crag par excellence. Perhaps the best experience to be had there is topping out on one of its geologically ambiguous pitches late in the evening at the exact point of the turning of low tide, when the mud banks gleam murky dark in the fading light, and the threads of flotsam on the river's surface begin their lazy journey back upstream towards Wiltshire. At such times, climbing there is much more than the physical act of upward movement on suspicious, underprotected rock. Graced by the tidal flow, the process of climbing allows us to enter a region in which the river's presence can articulate itself in monumental silence, like one of Eliot's strong gods. Moments like this in the climbing life throw us back into the heart of who we are and remind us of what it means to be human. Along with its intrinsic power to connect nature with human nature and the physical with the spiritual, the quality of our climbing year is always dependent on what's happening in the atmosphere. If the weather's been spectacularly wet, as it has been this year in Britain, then we are truly at the mercy of the river gods. When Prince Hamlet says the time is out of joint, there's a nasty feeling that things are going to go badly wrong. They do. And like the prince, we live in troubled times. The Eurozone lurches from bailout to bailout with reckless abandon, perpetuating the worst economic crisis for 80 years. Syria continues its desperate descent into barbarism. Iran, Israel, and the USA turn up their dangerous game of sanctions and uranium enrichment. And back in Britain, the daily farce of the goodies, the baddies, and the uglies rumbles on. Writing in The Guardian, Simon Hoggart struck the nerve of the national mood. Shambles upon shambles. The omni-shambles is now a mega-shambles, Hoggart writes. A shambles in Europe, a shambles in the banks, and of course let's not forget the great ongoing rolling perma-shambles of the government. Compelling though Hoggart's burlesque sketch is, the summer of 2012 has given us some good reasons to be cheerful despite the rain. A British cyclist won the world's greatest bike race for the first time in its history, a British tennis player made it to the Wimbledon final, and London hosted the Olympic Games. Pembroke also saw its hardest route established, and an iconic project on Welsh slate was finally climbed a quarter of a century after it was first conceived. You'll find out more about both these outstanding climbs, and much more besides in this exciting issue of Climb. In the context of recession, war, and dysfunctional politics, such events underscore the unique power of sport to create hope, ambition, and a sense of community in troubled times. In a recent article in Prospect magazine, Edward Docks proposes that British people suffer from a condition he calls weather anxiety. Since we are so accustomed to rain, he argues, when the sun comes out we lose our marbles. He may well be right. Yet climbing, thankfully, gives us numerous escape routes from our soggy, overcrowded little island. I found mine on a quick trip to British Columbia at the end of June. After dodging showers at Squamish, we drove north to Suicide Bluffs. It's a secret, shady escarpment hidden among the pines on the eastern bank of the Green River, upstream from Nairn Falls near Whistler. After crossing the raging river on a zip wire, we climbed 3 of the best granite sport routes I've ever done. The first of the trio started directly from the water's edge. With 20 metres of stunning technical climbing, the river gave it the most dramatic background imaginable, thundering downstream towards one of the most powerful waterfalls in Western Canada. Climbing at Suicide Bluffs reminded me that great things can still happen in the rain, so long as you don't mind heading down to the river. Balanced high above the moving water, the promised land between memory and desire opens up like Pandora's apocryphal box, showing you all the climbs you have yet to climb and the horizons you have yet to see, the country ahead of you and the country behind. Just as the boss says in Matamoros Banks, for 2 days the river keeps you down, then you rise to the light without a sound. Your clothes give way to the current and river stone, till every trace of who you ever were is gone.